Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the Faith for Earth dialogue session co-organized by the Multifaith Action Group on Pollution. My name is Marina. I am an intern at UNEP's Faith for Earth initiative, and I have been working with the Action Group since September 2021. As we near the end of the 24-part Faith for Earth dialogue series held alongside UNIA 5.2, it is only apt that this session follows the adoption of the UNIA resolution to establish an international negotiating committee to tackle the pollution crisis. This session sets out to highlight the role of faith actors play in offering their wisdom and agency to address a crisis that poses pervasive and persistent challenges at all levels. With that in mind, we ask two questions. Can faith be the solution to pollution? And what role can we play as the Multifaith Action Group on Pollution to strengthen and scale actions towards a pollution-free planet? Today, you're invited to reflect on the following points. How can faith actors contribute to assist local communities to address pollution? What are the main challenges and opportunities for tackling the different forms of pollution? What tangible actions will we take away from this session? We aim to facilitate a space for engaged and dedicated faith actors to exchange experiences and knowledge related to the pollution crisis, showcasing what has been done and what remains to be done. Faith for Earth is committed to mobilizing interfaith collaboration towards a pollution-free planet and invite you to join the sub-action groups on pollution with a specific thematic focus. These will be launched during this session. Once again, welcome, and let's get started. Firstly, I would like to ask you to kindly mute yourselves when not talking. In case you're not familiar with Teams, to mute and unmute yourself, you must click on the button at the top right corner, the microphone icon. If you have questions or comments, we encourage you to post them in the chat box. Also, please note that we will have a dedicated round for questions and answers after the Fireside Chat. I will begin now by sharing a brief presentation to introduce the purpose and efforts of the Multifaith Action Group on Pollution. One second. Can everyone see my presentation?
It's not visible, Marina.
Oh, it's visible to me. Apologize for that. I'll try again.
It's visible now.
Thank you. Take control. So this is the agenda of my brief presentation. Firstly, I would like to provide a bit of background on the creation of this Multifaith Action Group on Pollution. Many of you may already be familiar with the concept of the triple planetary crisis identified by UNEP, which consists of climate change, nature and biodiversity loss, and pollution and waste. These three pillars of environmental degradation form the basis of UNEP's medium-term strategy, which is represented on this figure on the right side. The same strategy also highlights the importance of mobilizing partnerships to implement the 2030 agenda and to achieve the SDGs. Faith for Earth has replicated this model within its scope of work and has established 3 working groups, multi-faith working groups, one on climate change, one on biodiversity, and another in pollution, the latter of which is the focus of our session today. But what is the relationship between faith and pollution? What is the rationale behind this proposal? Virtually all faiths and spiritual traditions, in one way or another, they share the belief that humans have a special responsibility as stewards of the divine creation and must strive to preserve the balance of nature. Therefore, human-driven environmental degradation can be seen as a failure of humankind to fulfill this duty, which brings a spiritual dimension to the matter. Additionally, considering that pollution affects disproportionately the poor and the vulnerable, fixing the problem becomes a moral imperative. So it is not surprising that a growing number of FBOs, supported by their spiritual values, have been taking action to address environmental issues. And sometimes their action is specifically targeted at tackling pollution and waste. Recognizing the great potential of faith-based communities to mobilize and inspire behavior change and action, last year, in 2021, Faith for Earth established the Multifaith Working Group on Pollution, also referred to as the Multifaith Action Group on Pollution, in cooperation with these organizations listed here, which are the core member organizations. We have representatives of some of these organizations, if not all of them, here participating in the session now. Anglican Consultative Council, that includes the Green Anglicans in South Africa, Terfan, Plastic Bank, Islamic Help, IFES, and UNEP MGCY. This group seeks to supplement UNEP's multi-stakeholder response by engaging specifically with FBOs and faith actors. The purpose of this action group is to facilitate a global interfaith response to the pollution crisis with the aim of engaging the faith communities in addressing pollution issues, mobilizing the power and influence of faith leaders and communities, particularly at grassroots level, identifying critical challenges and providing a forum for the exchange of knowledge and learning globally, regionally, and locally. This group has developed a work plan which has the 4 main milestones. First one, to formulate a concept note of the working group. Second, to conduct a global mapping to identify faith actors engaged in pollution action, which I will cover in more detail soon. Design and develop a catalog with examples of faith-based action against pollution, which I will also discuss later. And finally, formulate a model for sub-action groups, which is one of the objectives of this session. So here on the left side, you can see the status of implementation, and the green ones are already completed. The yellow one is almost completed, and the red one is the call for action that we bring for you today. Okay, now we move on to the second part. The second part of the group's work plan was a mapping exercise to identify faith-based initiatives and projects from around the world, which are just at tackling pollution and waste, which was conducted last September and resulted in 66 initiatives identified to date. To this end, we used 3 main tools. We sent an online survey to our network, asking them to inform their projects on pollution. We also ran general online search using Google, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. And lastly, we consulted the Faith Action on the SDGs database by the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology. For those who may not be familiar with the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology, it is a wonderful website that concentrates a huge amount of knowledge and resources on the world's religion and ecology. One feature of this website is the Faith Action on the UN SDGs database that displays several examples of faith-based projects that contribute to achieving the environmental SDGs. Here's a screenshot to show how this database looks like. And then we have classified the initiatives identified according to their thematic area within pollution, which are the 7 areas outlined by the 2017 UNEP background report on pollution, shown here: air, waste, marine and coastal, land and soil, chemical, freshwater, and online data pollution. We also classified initiatives according to their religious affiliation and the geographical region of their scope of action. The results are presented here. As you can see, on the left side, the majority of projects are carried out by Christian organizations, but interfaith projects also represent a significant portion. In terms of regional representation, on the right side, you can see that the distribution is fairly even, with South Asia ranking first, with many projects in India. Now, when we analyze the thematic areas covered by projects, we can see that the vast majority of them are aimed at addressing waste pollution, mainly plastic. And second place is water pollution, including marine and freshwater, followed by air pollution. So these are the priority areas that the group has identified. Now, moving on to the catalog. One important part of the group's work plan is to develop a catalog, which we have titled Faith-Based Action Towards a Pollution-Free Planet. This online publication seeks to recognize and showcase the important work of FBOs in tackling pollution, as well as to inspire more organizations and individuals to act on it. The catalog seeks to place a spotlight on the activities of FBOs and faith leaders as an underutilized stakeholder group for pollution action. In this catalog, we have included around 30 case studies of faith-based initiatives against pollution. This catalog has been finalized. However, we are not able to publish it today as it is in final stage of review, internal review by UNEP. And while we wait for its official publication, which will happen soon, I will share with you a preview of this catalog so you can have an idea of what is coming up. So these are some sample of pages from the catalog. As you can see in the table of contents, it has an introduction section, followed by the case studies, which are the heart of the publication, and followed by a conclusion. Here's a snapshot of some of the case studies. As I said, there are around 30 of them. Here you can see one from Uganda, one from Indonesia, from Brazil. Some of these organizations, I hope, are with us right now here in the session. Another example of case study from the US, Colombia, India, Norway, and so on. Now, let us move ahead to the last part. As pollution is a very broad theme, the group's work plan proposes a model for creating sub-action groups based on the priority areas that we identified, which are, as mentioned, waste pollution, mainly plastic, water pollution, including marine and freshwater, and air pollution. So we propose the creation of these 3 subgroups to engage with FBOs that may be interested in focusing on one form of pollution. We invite faith actors and FBOs to be part of one or more of these subgroups. The only subgroup that has already been started to date is the one on waste pollution, with the members of the original Multifaith group, which have decided to start a campaign ahead of UNEA 5.2 to call for a new global agreement on plastics. To this end, they have produced an interfaith statement titled Stop Plastic Pollution and Restore Our World. Here on the right, you can see a snapshot of the first page of the statement. It is longer, it has 2 pages. And on the left side, you can see the endorsement form through which anyone can endorse this statement. As of yesterday, this is the list of organizations and individuals that have endorsed our interfaith statement on plastic pollution, around 51 of them. So what are the next steps? If you are interested in joining one or more of these subgroups in pollution action, please let us know. You can write it in the chat box, or you can send an email to Iyad or Esmera indicating the name of your organization and which subgroup or subgroups you would like to join. We also need volunteers to be facilitators of these subgroups. The facilitators will have a coordination function, so to say, in the subgroups as to coordinate meetings and the work of the subgroup. We also recommend that you submit your project for inclusion in the Faith Action on the UN SDGs platform that I mentioned before. We also call everyone to endorse the interfaith statement on plastic pollution through this link. And finally, we invite you to subscribe to our Faith for Earth newsletter, so you will receive regular emails with the relevant news and events. Thank you very much for your attention. Before we move on to the next item of the agenda, I would like to ask Esmera to please launch a little survey to our participants. I hope everyone can see it. Where are you connecting from? Great to see. We have participants from many parts of the world now. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that in some parts of the world, it's some crazy hour right now. Thank you. I will now move on to the next item in our program, the Fireside Chat, which will be moderated by Shantanu Mandal from Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University and coordinator of the major group of children and youth to UN Environment, UNEP NGCY. Shantanu, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Marina, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone who is present here, because we are joining from different parts of the world. So I think it's much better for me to say good time wherever you are, in whichever time zone you are. Thank you, Marina. It was amazing to see the presentation. I mean, I was part of this, but I never thought it is such huge of a work, that I am being part of. And I think that is something very humane, also very humble about faith actors, that sometimes they go beyond what a human capacity would define, and they would not even know. And this was a perfect example where so many of us come together, put up something, little donations or contributions of our energy, time, and ideas, and look what we have got. Wonderful. So I would clap. You might not hear me, but others by also clapping for all the efforts that you have. And also the Faith for Earth team, it's brilliant how they work throughout day and night and support us. So with this invitation to start the fireside chat, I don't have, but I know you have a fire in your hearts, and that is the corner that I would like to take you. So everyone, let's just go into the depth of our hearts, which is beating, which is warm, and in that corner of your heart, in that fire space, I would like you to just be there for some time and reflect on this one question. You can write it on the chat, and I would ask my panelists to respond. I will introduce them also, but let me just put this question. In your heart, which is warm and beating, just like the fire, which is always live, what is that one thing that keeps you moving? What is that one aspect of nature that moving ahead and ahead and do more and more and more? So you are free to write on the chat, and I would invite our panelists to this fireside chat. Reverend Dr. Malyel Sabuko Shicharian, he's the Bishop of Church of South India. Mr. Luyanda, who is the waste reclaimer from the African Reclaimers Organization. Miss Amina, who is the education program coordinator. And so we have a nice team here who would be joining us in the fireside chat. So my question would first go to Reverend Malyal. What do you see in your heart that keeps you moving every day? What aspect of nature?
The nature, without the nature, we can't be here in this world. The hope to live and the hope of survival. That's the main thing.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. The hope to survive, the hope to live. And coming to you, Amina, what is that that keeps you moving? What is that fire in your heart that keeps you moving?
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Just like show me that it's okay, great, because connection sometimes can be tricky. So greetings of peace from Bosnia Herzegovina, where I'm connecting from. And I would say it's the resilience that the nature shows, even though, we as human beings, unfortunately, we exploit, we don't live sustainably. We just use the resources without being very much careful to it, and the resilience that the nature is still showing to it, and let's say the power of re-emerging, and let's say the power of being able to restore itself as something that gives me hope that together with nature, if we come to our senses as human beings, we can actually thrive. So this is what gives me still hope that it's possible to live on this planet, and it's possible to save it and to actually give it to those to whom it belongs, and those are the descendants that are yet to come after us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I like that aspect of the resilience and how much donor is nature. She is giving us, providing us all the time without anything in return back, maybe just a little bit of more respect from us. So, Luanda, coming to you, what is that drives you? What is that fire in your heart that drives you?
Thank you very much. I think with me, what drives a fire in my heart is an authentic smile. That comes from people after a long day's work, after a long struggle of what people face, and having an authentic smile of appreciation gives a drive to wake up in the morning again.
Wow. I I think people do also receive a smile when they see you doing your work every day. So congratulations, and I love that answer, that authentic smile, because an authentic smile is a way to appreciate, to give regard, to show support, and a smile can just be meaning so many things. So thank you so much, Luanda, for that. And I would again come back to Reverend Maliel, that you have been working with a huge community. When I was going through your biodata, I was like amazed to see the number of churches you are connected with, number of schools, colleges, secondary colleges. You are connected with a massive amount of people. What do you see in those people as common when it comes to the idea or the notion of facing pollution? What is that general temperature that you find from them?
They have the feeling that it's very difficult to live in this world unless and until we fight against the pollution. So as a church, what we do, we are encouraging the churches, the church members, and the students of different institutions, and make them motivate about how to come out from this dangerous situation. How can we make this world as carbon neutral? We are encouraging them to move ahead with the idea of keeping the environment carbon neutral. So we are encouraging the students, motivating them, giving leadership to them. This is what we are doing in our churches and in our schools.
Uh, if I may just ask you there, you said they feel very difficult, they feel enormous amount of pressure to live in a world which is full of pollution all around them, and you try to motivate them. How do you motivate a person when they are really under a lot of pressure? What are your ways that you motivate them with?
See, the different ways what we can do that. One is giving them the hope that if we work together and we work hard, if we fight against this the present situation, we can live in this world beautifully. This is what we are encouraging them. For that, what we are doing is for the clergy and the teachers, what we are doing, we them ask them to do green clergy and green teachers, making the teachers and the clergy to the field that they should give the leadership, and they are the people who can motivate the community where they are living. This is what we are doing.
So what I hear is that you are motivating them by bringing them together to work together with the power of unity, and then also consistency to work hard. Consistency, you can't leave it in between, and also you are educating them. And also I like the idea of making green teachers, connecting them back with your faith and making it, bringing it with a green perspective to what they already are doing. Thank you so
Yes.
much. So, Amina, I would now like to ask you this question. I know you have been working with environment and peace, and you have been awarded also for that. So, what was your biggest challenge when you were taking up this initiative and when you were working with the people around you, specifically you work with the youth? What are the greatest challenges that you face?
Could you just repeat the question, because at some point I was kicked out from the meeting, probably it's my connection. I really apologize for that. I would
No
just like
problem.
to ask the
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
question
good,
to
good.
be able to answer it. Sorry. Thank
Sure.
you.
So, because you are working with the youth, you are a young person, and you might also face a lot of challenges. But despite of facing those challenges, you are working and you have been awarded internationally also for your work for environmental peace. So, what were those challenges that you have faced, and what was your experience like?
Thank you very much for that, and thank you for such a nice, such nice words that we were actually awarded. Yes, you're right. For our, let's say, Faith for Earth initiative in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we got the Basil Pacey Award, but this was like a project that was focusing on young people in Bosnia and Herzegovina, where we try to connect faith together with environment and environmental peace building. And the challenge is always like how to motivate young people to think more about environmental protection, to think more ahead, not just to think what's happening today or what's happening tomorrow to them, but what will be happening in 10 years, in 5 years, in 15 years, and what they are going to leave behind them. It's always a challenge how to tell them that what's happening in one part of the world is actually affecting also us in our part of the world. It's always a challenge how to present this interconnectedness, because what we try to do in our work is to present this kind of interconnectedness and to present that maybe I live in Bosnia and Herzegovina and I don't face the same challenges as some parts of the world are facing regarding the waste, regarding the pollution, regarding the plastic, regarding the air pollution, even though the air pollution in Bosnia is quite huge. Our capital city at some points, at some parts of the year, is one of the most polluted in the world, unfortunately. But how to actually just present this and show them that they are part of the cycle, they are part of nature as well. It's not just human beings, us living on our own and nature living on their own. It's actually us living together in a cycle. And whatever I do as a as, let's say, individual, it actually affects the nature, and whatever affects the nature affects other people. So just to present this kind of thing, and because we are young and we always like think, okay, I'm just going to think what's happened today or what's going to happen tomorrow, and that's it, and not thinking ahead. And I think that's the biggest challenge, how to present this and how to make it more, let's say, visible and feasible to young people, in order to tell them that it's not okay, just to put some trash in the nature, because at some point it's going to explode, this kind of behavior. So these are the challenges, how to make this more let's say, how to present these consequences, even though I don't like to use the word the consequence, but I think this is something that we have to use when we are speaking about environmental protection and when we work with all generations of people. Thank you.
Wow. So what I really liked about is that you are brave to talk about the short-sightedness of the generation that we identify ourselves with. So what you exactly did with your peers and with your friends or with the youth that you have been working to support them in a journey to come from that short-sightedness to this far-sightedness to this future envisioning exercise of yours? Amina, are you there?
Oh, I'm there because my connection is really, really making a lot of issues. I really apologize for this.
No
So
problem.
what we did in Faith for Earth, the project, and it's not just the only project that we had or that we do on this on these questions, is basically that we try to make educational part. So, a part where we are going to speak to young people, where we are going to provide interactive educations on the questions of connectedness of religion and environment, connectedness of peace and environment. And we try to present them also, case studies from all around the world, but also those that are close to us, that are close to Europe, close to Bosnia, close to the Balkan area where we live, to show them it's not something that's happening somewhere over there. It's something happening to us as well. But we didn't want just to stop on the educational part. We decided to create a small action. So we cooperated with the national park, which is located in the north of Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's a beautiful river, one of the cleanest in the state as well. And we decided to partner with them and decided to clean part of the park. Even though the park is protected, there is still a lot of garbage inside it, because obviously the awareness is still not there. So we decided with our young people, young students from two schools, one from the Catholic background, one from the Muslim background, to organize this action, to clean this part of the park, and also to visit one of the natural attractions in the park, to show them why it's important and why we have such a beautiful nature in Bosnia and Herzegovina. But if we keep behaving as most of the people behave, unfortunately, and if we keep leaving the trash and the garbage after ourselves in the nature, we won't have those beautiful places that we have. So we decided to have educational part and actional part, because every time we work, we try to put some action in there. Every time we do, we also try to practice what we preach, because it's not okay if I come as a facilitator, preach to my students, and then just don't do any kind of action or just do opposite. And unfortunately, in many cases, I have seen that as well. So this is what we try in Youth for Peace, to set example of us as young people coming from different backgrounds, but also to set example for other young people and show them, like, this is the way forward, this is what we do, so join us and follow us in this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amina. I think what really resonated with me is that you cannot really make a difference only if you are talking about it and not being part of the real action. So practicing what you are kind of preaching or sharing like an education, but you are also making it very actionable education which is not just theory but also very practical. And I think that is why it is very successful at your end. I would come back to you both, but now I would like to ask Luanda about what is the biggest challenge that you face, Luanda, in the great work that you are doing, because you are a reclaimer of something that people don't see any use in it. But with your experience, you have seen that there is still a use of that something that people are calling waste, and you are trying to make a difference with reclaiming those waste. What has been your biggest challenge in that?
Thank you very much. The biggest challenge has been how to change people's stigma on waste. Society still doesn't understand the values and dangers of waste. And what we have found in South Africa is the value of waste and how we use to be able to sustain livelihoods. Um, we are part of a large group of informal what we would call waste collectors, but we call ourselves the reclaimers because we reclaim reusable, valuable materials that need to be directed out of the environment. And in South Africa, there was a survey that was made by the CSIR agent of the government, and they found that 80% of post-consumer packaging that is redirected from going to the landfill is redirected by the informal sector, which is the reclaimers. We form part of a very big number of making sure that the environment doesn't collect all the waste that we dispose. So the major challenges really is moving away the stigma of waste from human dignity. If people see me going through your bin looking for plastics, immediately it gets associated with drugs, gets associated with homelessness. There isn't enough trust that is given to the people that are actually doing the work of collecting materials to be able to earn an income out of it. So the challenge is educating everyone within the value chain, be it the resident that puts out the bin with plastic inside, be it the children in schools that we need to educate on how to dispose of their plastic, be it the reclaimers and educating them on understanding the value of the work that they are doing and appreciating that work because it definitely has been able to sustain livelihoods in South Africa for over 30 years. And people are finding a home in an area where there's a very huge stigmatization of that waste. We are raising families. We are supporting children. We're taking children to school. The importance of having an organized group of workers who are determined to change their livelihoods is that it has an organic growth in it because there's sentimental value within, which has brought us to have over 6,000 reclaimers around the country who are preaching the same word of saying we need to change the stigma of how you as a society look at us and the value that we have, and it's not being recognized. Can I please switch off my video? I think my signal is not good.
Yeah, I think that's okay if you can switch off your video. We would like to listen from you. It's okay. I think what you shared kind of touched many very important points. One is that not understanding the value in waste, but also the danger in waste. Also, what I liked when you said that we don't call ourselves waste pickers, but waste reclaimers, and it's also the kind of dignity that you provide to your own work, which helps you to keep going every day and do the same work, even if people are not trusting you or not supporting you much. And your call out for educational or sensitization of the issue that waste reclaimers are facing every day is something very important. I would definitely would like to tell you the good news that for the first time ever in the UNIA resolutions, the term and for the concern for the waste pickers was mentioned in the resolution. So something is moving. People are really connecting with the cause, and I would say congratulations for the work that you and your team is doing. I would like to ask Reverend Maliel, you are also someone I know who is very fond of growing. So you are fond of growing your own food, you have a little farm of your own. What has been your experience? Why do you see it as important for us to connect with growing something?
See, the Church of South India as a whole, giving importance to the ecological development. We have a department itself, Ecological Concerns Department. One of the bishops of the Church of South India, I should be a model to the church members and to the society. That's why I'm taking that much interest within the diocesan campus itself to make it green and avoiding the chemical fertilizers and trying to prove and motivate the people that it's better to have avoid chemical fertilizers and use the food which are healthy for the growth of the people and even for the next generation. So I'm using the campus as a model for the people, those who are visiting us, and to the church members and to the teaching community too.
So what I could see here is the same answer that Amina was giving, that she is doing a practical thing for making understand people what she is preaching. And you also are saying that I have to be a practical example for people to see and maybe get inspired to be like you. So,
Exactly.
so if I want to ask Luanda here the question, what made you inspired to get into a work like this, which is very tiring, stressful, and not so much in the eyes of, as you said, trust for people? How did you see yourself doing this work? What was your inspiration behind it?
It was the need to provide for my family. I had lost a job, and I could not stay a month without paying, doing what I need to do. I have a family, and which is the reason why most reclaimers end up doing the job. People don't want to sit down and do nothing, and people don't want to ask. So it's the motivation is really, I can't find a job. I don't want to bother anyone. I want to wake up in the morning and start earning a living and be my own boss.
Wow. Be my own boss and also take charge of something that nobody's caring about and be a leader in that. So that's one of the management rules, that if you can manage a problem that nobody's thinking of, you would be the leader in that. And we are very proud of you, Luanda, for what work you are doing. Asmaira, my dear friend here, I would like to ask you if we have got any questions from the chat box for our three speakers.
It seems as if our audience is shy, but I do encourage anyone who has a question for the three speakers to kindly raise your hand and I will enable your mic.
Pinaki has raised the hand and Junior J. Campbell has raised the hand.
Pinaki, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And wonderful, wonderful, all of you. Very inspiring. My question is to all of you to reflect and probably share a couple of lines. Is how do you see your own faith or your own belief tradition in conjunction with your work, and what are your takeaways in engaging faith-based teachings for your amazing daily activity?
Thank you. Maybe we can take another question and then you can go around answering the questions.
Jay, please go ahead.
Muting. My question is for Dr. Malail. The size of your connections as Bishop of South India, the number of people you can reach or not reach because of the size. Do you have any concerns about the efficacy of your message, of your work, because of the size of your audience. For me, I'll just explain, one of the greatest pollution challenges is what you might call noise pollution, where people get turned off because they're hearing the same thing time and time again. Our message is not new, but they become cynical because of hearing but not seeing the efficacy. And with the best efforts in the world, you're
Thank you, Jay, for your question. So I would now like to ask Reverend Maliel to start with this answer and also answer Pinaki's question. What do you see as your faith or teachings of your faith connecting to the pollution? So you can start with answering Jay's question.
See, Bible always teaching us that the Lord is the creator of this nature, this land, and it's for the people to live. And not only for us, those who are living in this world now, it's for the generations to come. God has created the people to look after the nature and keep the balance and to hand over it for the next generation too. So because of that, it's a bound duty of all the Christians to take care of the nature and work against pollution and work against the waste which we are through the waste we are damaging the nature, and we have to work against that. This is what Bible teaches about that. So we are in this world to look after the nature and the earth.
Thank you, Reverend. Would you also like to answer the question that Pinaki posed?
Will you explain that question, please?
I think he was asking what in your faith teachings is that you connect with the work of environmental action in a couple of lines.
I think it's Luanda here. I think for us really is it's elaborating on what the previous speaker was saying. But for us really it's saying we are the solution. We are the people that are doing the everyday work of taking care of our environment. Reclaim and collect about 80 to 150 kilograms of recyclable materials on a daily basis. We are saving the environment on a daily basis. So it's insisting and educating on saying you are actually doing the work that God has asked you to do. And you need to be aware of that. You need to appreciate yourself and you need to appreciate the work that you are doing.
Thank you, Luanda. And I totally believe in this, what you said, that everybody is playing their own role, but what you are doing is also something that people have neglected for a long time, but not anymore. With this platform, I'm sure we would send the right note, right voice across to support you and people who are working hard every day to reclaim the waste. I have the question again for Amina here in the chat box, which says, Amina, you mentioned that there are many instances where interconnection of the various geographical regions of the world with environmental problems. But my question is, what did you do to solve that problem? And the person asking this question is also facing the similar kind of problems in interconnection with geographical regions. So Amina, would you like to take the floor and answer the question?
If I could reflect also on the first question about the beliefs, and then I will try to briefly answer this question, which I hope I will just give a glimpse of it because there's no like a recipe or something that I can say. But as a practicing Muslim, because I come to this conversation as a practicing Muslim, I tend to practice my faith in three different relations. That's my duties towards God, my duties towards the other human beings, and my duties towards the earth. And these duties, I have to say, overlap at many times. So a special emphasis on earth is that, you know, I celebrate God and I celebrate his grace the way how I treat the earth, and through protecting what he created and gave to us as a resource, but a resource to use it wisely and sustainably. because Allah put us human beings as khalifas or as stewards on this planet. And the Arabic word of khalifa is mentioned 8 times in Quran. And it's always in the context of the land, in the context of the earth. Of course, it can have different, let's say, translations, but as a steward, you have a responsibility, you have a faith, moral, and ethical duty, or to protect, to take care, and to nurture what is given to you as amana. And concept of amana is trusting somebody or someone with something of value and expecting that person to carry out what is entrusted to them. And this is how I see the earth. It's given as amana to human beings. It's given by the God, by Allah to us, and we need to take care of it. We need to nurture it. But it's given to us only temporarily. It's given to us for a certain period of time, because other people, our descendants, the children and their grandchildren that will come, needs to take over this amana from us. So I see that we are here to keep the earth for them, to think of them, to leave them something to take care of and to nurture. And here comes this principle of being selfless, this selflessness and the relations and duties towards other people. So how can I worship God if I, and care for other people and care for those who are to come, if I pollute the planet, if I don't use the resources wisely, if I produce vast amount of garbage, if I waste food, if I use unsustainable resources, and if I don't share the resources with the others, to simply put it, if I just put plastic bottles in the rivers, lakes, sea, somewhere in the nature, if I use plastic bags, if I have the alternative to use, if I decide to use the heating in my house that is going to pollute the air that we all breathe just because it's cheaper, and there are alternatives. And here also comes the big question for the leaders and for the decision makers. How can we worship God? How can we be the stewards on the planet if we decide to create and use the weapons that are going to destroy this planet, if we decide to make resources scarce for those who we think that are our enemies? So I would say this is how my faith motivates me, and this is how I see the role of faith and the role of faith-based organizations. But to answer the question of interconnectedness, it's really hard to say that I did anything like feasible or visible to solve it. But what I try to do, what I really try to do is, to practically show to my participants, if something happens in one part of the cycle, how it is affecting the other parts of the cycle. If something happens, I don't know, if we destroy the corals somewhere there, what is going to happen to this part of the world? If, I don't know, we just use this kind of heating in my city, what is going to happen to other cities? If we put plastic bottles in the oceans, what is going to happen to the fish? If you eat that fish, you are going to eat the plastic in this fish, and etc., etc., etc. Just to show this kind of small things that can be actually affecting each and every one of us. But also, I'm trying to use my own example to show how if you as an individual, as a person, try to reduce eating meat or reduce producing the waste, how your actions, your very small actions, because they are small, they are micro actions, but how if each and every of us do that is going to affect the whole cycle, the whole planet. So small actions matter. And I try to say that to my participants. Yes, they are small. Yes, they are micro actions, but they matter, because everything starts from us as individuals. Everything starts from me saying, for example, I'm going to be vegetarian, and I'm vegetarian for 13 years. And I'm going to reduce eating the meat, etc., etc. So just these kind of things. I don't know. I didn't give the recipe. I probably didn't answer the questions with some feasible answers, but this is how I try to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Amina. And I would thank each one of us here who really took up this moment and actively participated. There are many questions for Luanda and Reverend Maliel and Amina, which you can write back to them on the chat, because I would like to take this final question to all three of you and then move it on and pass it on to Penaki and Marina to take forward to the next portion of the event. My last question to you is, as Amina just said, that every small action counts. So a fire cannot begin with a spark. So it has to start with a spark. And if I have to ask you, what is that one word today that you would like to leave as a spark for our participants here to carry back in their heart where they were sitting and listening this fireside chat and create a flame out of it, what would be that one word? And so coming to you, Reverend Malayal, the sparking
Hope.
word for you.
For me, that's a hope.
Hope. So Luanda, for you?
Integration.
Wow. Hope, integration. And Amina, finally to you, what's the spark in your heart?
Engage.
Engage. So engage, integrate, and be hopeful. With that, I would thank all three of you for engaging in this beautiful conversation. I enjoyed it, and I am having a more warmer heart now. So thank you so much for all your good time and inspirations. And I would now ask, Marina to take over, or maybe Pinaki. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shantanu, and all the participants in this fireside chat. Very inspiring conversation. We will now move on to the next item in the agenda. This is the presentation of case studies in each of the thematic areas of pollution. This will be moderated by Peter Nischk, Faith Program Manager of Plastic Bank. Peter, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Thank you, and also for the previous fire chat is very, very inspiring. We will now listen to 3 case studies. Each case studies will be presented in 5 minutes. And after that, we will have another Q&A session for you to ask our presenters. Now, our first presenter I want to introduce is Partha Bosu. He is a lead advisor of Indian Environmental Defense Fund, and he has 2 decades of experience working on vehicular emissions. He started his career in the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, where he was part of the team that developed the computerized emission check system for vehicles in India, which is still being used today. And in 2010, he joined the UN Partnership of Clear Air Asia as the India representative before becoming their India director and South Asia liaison. During his tenure, he gained importance for air pollution in India. He was a part of the working group of non-motorized transport promotion at the Ministry of Urban Development, and he developed the first world's walkability survey app. He also structured the country's first and only green logistics working group with the Ministry of Heavy Industry and the NITI Aayog to reduce emissions and improve freight efficiency. He also launched the Ind-Air Repository of Indigenous Air Quality Studies with NEERI and CPCB. And currently, he is the lead India advisor to Environmental Defense Fund. And in addition, he is directing the USAID-funded Clean Air Catalyst, which is a multi-stakeholder consortium working toward clean air in Indore and developing a protocol on hyperlocal hotspots in India. Wow, very impressive bio. Arto, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Peter. Had I known that you'll be reading the whole of it, I would have shortened it much more. Believe me, there is a lot less than it sounds and it looks. Okay, I will be sharing my slides, and I've been given 5 minutes, so I will try to finish within that. Yes, okay. And can you tell me if you can see my first slide?
No,
No, Partha, we cannot. It's still not visible. It's not visible at all. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Sure. What's wrong?
Now?
For me, not. I don't know for the others.
Oops. Wow.
Can't see
Uh,
it.
uh, it's still not visible, Partho.
Now? No?
No,
It's not visible, is it? Okay.
yeah. Can you try it once?
Yeah, I'm showing the
It's
Now,
visible.
now we can see it.
Now it's okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
Yes.
okay, excellent. Okay, excellent. Now, just tell me if you can see the first slide, or do you see the um,
We see the first one, hyperlocal air quality assessment around monuments and impacts on surrounding communities.
Yes, okay. It should be a climate slide. As long as you don't read my notes, it's fantastic. Okay, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to start by saying that around the world, 9 out of 10 people breathe unhealthy air. Air pollution is now the biggest environmental risk for early death, responsible for as many as 5 million premature deaths each year from heart attack, stroke, diabetes, and other respiratory diseases. It is believed that that's more than AIDS and tuberculosis and malaria combined. And that's the reason why we work on air pollution, or that's the reason why I want to work on air pollution. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Partha Bosu. I work for Environmental Defense Fund, and it's a pleasure for me to talk about an hyperlocal air quality assessment program, in short, that we called Helium. Just a bit about us, who we are. Well, we are an NGO. What you see on the left-hand side is a bird which is called the osprey, which is supposed to be a symbol of the American government. And long before, people found that the osprey population was declining because of DDT, which was thinning its shells. And because of that, many people came together and they formed an association, a group of people, which was then known as the Environmental Defense Fund, and they fought together to ban DDT, and they succeeded. And what came after that was this partnership, which was working in order to defend air pollution and many other things, environmental degradation that was happening across, in order to solve this problem. Emissions is the key area where I have been working for now 2 decades, as Peter was saying. And it is because of that that I found that the work that we are doing across the world in order to control emissions and air pollutions in and part different parts of the society, different parts of the world, and land use is very, very critical. And that's where we took it to the next level, where we were launching something called the Methane Sat last year, and because of COVID, it is running delayed. And this year, we are likely to be launching this, which will be monitoring the air quality and methane emissions across the world. Now, why air pollution is such a big deal? Well, air pollution is a big deal because it is becoming a huge thing for the most developing nations, where a large number of people are losing their lives. And even a larger number of people are facing morbidity. And India is a developing nation. And as per one of the reports by Lancet, near about 1.7 million people lost their lives to air pollution in 2019. And but the problem is that at the end of the day, when you look at air pollution, the knowledge of air pollution has also been changing quite a lot. People have been looking at the bigger sources of air pollution, like the industries, etc. But we later found that there are a lot of micro sources that has become a part of the society today, and that is contributing to a lot of urban pollution that we all face. And it can be because of vehicles, it can be because of the garbage that is not being collected and burned, it can be because of the practices, it can be because of the poor walkability and urban design, where people would like to take a vehicle and not walk, or it can be many other sources. So that is one of the reasons why we started working on hyperlocal air pollution. And as I said, that air pollution is a very, very unique problem, which is not limited to one part of the society or one group. It is something which requires everybody's support. And when a problem of this size we have in front of us, we need more hands. And that is one of the reason. And what Unifaith is doing here is something which is remarkable, the kind of platform that we have and kind of enthusiasm and passion that I saw in the session before and I've been seeing in the speakers yesterday, that has been really, really mind-blowing. And in this program, what we are trying to do is we are trying to find out what is the quality of air that is surrounding the faith-based monuments, and it is how is it impacting the followers, the visitors who are visiting these monuments, and how the marginalized communities who are in a way dependent on these monuments in by way of providing some kind of a service, some kind of work, maybe providing selling trinkets, providing guide services, etc., how it impacts their health and how we can protect them. And we have been receiving a lot of requests from few organizations and in order to see what is the kind of quality of air that is around their structures and if there is a way we can help them. And last but not the least, it is also something which is very, very beneficial to this kind of monuments, to this kind of structures, and also to the people who are visiting these monuments. It helps us to identify what is the kind of problem that is being faced in near these monuments. And we use different kind of sciences, a mix of technology, modeling, data, surveys, etc., which is a very, very time consuming and a very complex method. But we are happy to do that in order to find the solution and find what can help them in order to elongate the preservation of life. And the way it works is that although we divide the whole area into smaller groups in order to look for the smaller sources, but it also helps us to find how the micrometrology of the structures around them is causing any kind of a problem or is causing a canyon effect that we say in science, which is basically bringing the pollution from somewhere else and maybe to the monument. And these are the kind of things which we can identify with this science, and it helps us to control it. The only problem is that we require, I will not say it's a problem, I will say it's a challenge, that we do require a reference gate station near this monument. It helps us to make the whole science more reliable, and then we can do this application of what we have created, this helium of about 2.5 to 3 kilometer radius in and around the monument, which will help us to find many kind of things. Also, I also find this something very, very in line with the thing that our partners and all of you have been doing. UNESCO have been funding to protect thousands of monuments in India, and tourism is one of the major GDP earnings for this sector. And if there is a way we can keep this consistent, it is a sustainable, it is an improvement in the sustainable tourism, the Incredible India campaign, which the government is trying to bring in, and also for the faith-based settlements and monuments where people can live a better quality of life. And the way we try to work on this is basically the surveys we take. There's something called emission inventory, which we try to do. And apart from that, some mobile monitoring. Last but not the least, we need a lot more dialogue with science and faith. And this is a fantastic platform which we would like to utilize if given. It is a powerful voice, and the influence that you can do, that will be of immense help. So far, we have two partners, Terry and United Religions Initiative, and we are really grateful and we are open to partnerships. So in case anybody is interested, we'll be very happy to work with you. This is the team of the people who are working behind us in order to bring a change. Thank you very much for your opportunity. I really look forward to answering any questions should you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Partha. It's really a very impressive work you're doing, and very, very important. Even here in Germany, the air is destroying churches that have been already thousands of years old, and so really appreciate that. And it was really, I think, very informative for us to to know that you're doing this kind of work. So thank you so much. So if you have questions for Partha, please type them in the chat and we will answer them later. And now we go to our next case study from air to water. And we'll have a team of two who will be presenting. I want to first introduce Rabbi Ed Rosenthal. He was born in Missouri in the US and did a trip to Sinai in 1982, where for the first time he was snorkeling and was overwhelmed by the beauty of the deep and the different colors and shapes of fishes and greens and reds and all kind of colors that he couldn't even imagine that they existed, and the shimmering and shining dancing light of the sea. So I know what you are talking. I'm also a scuba diver. So, and ever since that, he got obsessed by exploring the spirituality of the sea and the wonders of the waters, and he wants to share with us today. And his colleague, Shaina Cohen, who is the Community Outreach and Expansion Director of Repair the Sea, which is Tikkun Hayam, I think. Since joining the organization, the first employee, wow, in 2018, she jointly grew a college club, Scuba Jew, into an international organization, expanded an annual local cleanup into a debris removal program in 18 countries, and coordinated the transition of over 50 campus organizations to 100% biodegradable dinnerware. As a master scuba diver trainer, Shaina has spent over 1,000 hours underwater, shared the underwater world with hundreds of divers, and removed thousands of pounds of debris from the ocean. Shaina also has a Bachelor of Arts in Biology from Grinnell College. So, so great, Ed and Shaina, to have you here, and excited to hear from you. Take it away, please.
Thank you for that, Peter. As Peter said, I'm Rabbi Ed Rosenthal, joined by my colleague Shaina Cohen. And before we tell you about our programs that address water pollution, we have a short video to introduce Tikkun Hayam, Repair the Sea.
We're just waiting on the screen to be shared. I don't know if we're having any issues on the other side, Asmira.
It's coming.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much. We'll let it buffer for a little bit. Apologies. We're going to let it buffer all the way through and then we'll continue.
Shayna, I pasted a link in the chat for a YouTube video. Can you confirm it's the same one?
I do not see the chat on my screen.
Is this video available on YouTube, the 4-minute video?
It is not, but it can be, and we can send it out afterwards.
Great. Okay. Well, as you can see in the video, we're not your average Jewish environmental organization. We go deeper, both figuratively and literally. In Judaism, the foundation of our values, our culture, and our heritage goes back to the Torah. The Torah, for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with Judaism, is what we and Christianity and Islam call the 5 books of Moses. The book of Genesis begins with the line, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovered on the surface of the water. And God said, let there be light." In other words, water existed even before God spoke and created light. From this, we learn that water preceded everything. Indeed, Psalm 95 says, Asher lo hayam, the sea is God's, indicating the special relationship between water and the divine. How ironic that that which our sacred scripture tells us is the realm of God, we humans treat like a garbage dump. Now, based on this understanding of scripture, we protect the water from pollution in 3 major ways: through ritual cleanups, creation of ritual objects from recycled plastic, and sustainable product sourcing.
We created a website you can visit to stay involved in any of the initiatives that we are about to discuss. The QR code and the link will be on the bottom of the screen throughout the presentation. So if at any point you feel motivated to join the movement, please visit the website so we can stay in touch. Our alternative plastic sourcing program is called the Blue Green Initiative. At this point, we've negotiated with a business that creates 100% biodegradable foodware, like plates and cutlery and to-go containers, to offer a steep discount to any faith-based organization in North America that wants to make the switch from single-use plastic to compostable products. These products do not need to break down in a composting facility. They are 100% natural.
And ritual objects created from recycled plastic shows the commitment of individuals and communities to our blue planet. We have a great 3D modeler. So if you have a ritual object to design, let us know and we'll create it for you. Another way our communities show their care for the aquatic environment is through our annual reverse tashlich. In our tradition, on the new year, we go to a body of water and symbolically cast off our sins into the water. We simply added another dimension and reversed the process.
So at this point, once a year, the Jewish community comes together to pull their sins, like plastic and debris, from local waterways. We also encourage our community to do data collection in order to document what trash they're finding where. Last year, we had 170 communities cleaning their local environments in 18 countries. This was a 250% growth from the previous year, which shows us that there is a lot of potential value and potential for growth in this program, not just for our community, but hopefully for yours.
We changed the thought process on the ritual of tashlich and incorporated our Jewish environmental values to create a new ritual that cleanses the water that cleanses us. And we encourage you to do the same. And we want to help. If you visit the website we've provided, you can share water-based rituals from your traditions so that we can continue the process and learn from each other and collaboratively create an interfaith marine debris group that can grow, learn, and make an impact together while maintaining that which makes all of our traditions unique. And we thank you for our attention. That's Tikkun Hayam, repair the sea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shayna and Ed. This was a wonderful presentation. It was a pleasure to watch, and I think you're doing a great job in this this impact you're creating, inspiring people to see the connection between the spiritual and the actual action is really a very good example, and looking forward to connect more with you and to see how we can work together. Thank you so much. And now for our last case study, I would like to introduce Mary Williams. Mary Williams is a senior policy associate At Tearfund, she's been working in the field of international development and environmental sustainability for more than 20 years and leads Tearfund's global advocacy program on waste pickers' rights. So she co-authored Tearfund's influential reports on plastic pollution, No Time to Waste, and The Burning Question. I read both of them. They're very, very good publications. And so looking forward to Mary to share more about her work with us. Please go ahead, Mary.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the presenters before this as well, two really interesting presentations. So yes, my name is Mary. I work for Tearfund. For those that don't know, Tearfund's a UK-based Christian relief and development organisation working in around 50 of the world's poorest countries. And as well as doing programmatic work through partners, we've also been doing advocacy work on poverty and environmental issues for decades. But this morning, or this afternoon, this evening, depending on where you are, I'm going to talk about Tearfund's Rubbish campaign as a case study. So the Rubbish campaign, an advocacy campaign, was launched in May 2019, and it was launched with this report that Peter mentioned, No Time to Waste. And this report was one of the first really globally to highlight the impacts of plastic pollution, not just on the environment and wildlife, but also on the world's poorest people, particularly in terms of their health and livelihoods. And there's a strong connection back to the first presentation on this, because of course, air pollution caused through open burning of plastic waste is a big factor in terms of health impacts. And in this report, we calculated that every 30 seconds, one person dies from diseases caused by waste. The foreword to the report was written by Sir David Attenborough, and largely due to this, I think it got a lot of media attention, both globally and in the UK, where Tearfund is based. And we estimate that through the coverage that was achieved, more than 62 million people read this statistic and read about the issue. So the campaign focused on 4 multinational companies: Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Nestle, and Unilever. And with a very simple message: stop the rubbish that is hurting poor people. And it called on them to do 4 things, essentially: to report on the number of units of single-use plastic they produce and sell, to reduce, so to commit to halve the number of these items by 2025, to recycle, and ensure that for every 1 piece of single-use plastic that they put on the market, that they ensure that 1 is collected, so 1 for 1, and to restore. And the restore element is about ensuring the human rights and dignity and livelihoods of waste pickers are protected in collection and recycling. So these were the 4 asks. Obviously, there was a lot more detail behind them, but in terms of the campaign, that's what people saw. So how did we do this? How did we work to influence the companies in this way? Well, through the campaign, Tearfund mobilized its supporters, so Christians in the UK, to pray about the issue, to sign a petition to the 4 companies, and there was an online petition, and there was also sort of postcards, produced paper petitions, to share the campaign in their churches and networks and families and friends, and also to pledge to make changes to their own lifestyle when it comes to the use of single-use plastic. And Tearfund produces resources to help people connect their faith to action. And so for the Rubbish campaign, as with all our campaigns, we produce resources for churches, for all ages within churches, sermon notes for church leaders, films, PowerPoint templates that people could use. And an important part of the what we provide for people to support their advocacy work is case studies and stories of individuals and families affected by plastic pollution, and that's a really important way of helping sort of people make that connection and to spur them to action. So the campaign in this phase was scaled down to focus on COVID when in 2020 when COVID hit, and then on climate in the run up to COP26. But we will be launching the next phase of the campaign very early next year, so we're excited about that. But even though the official sort of campaign with our supporters scaled down, we've still been doing a lot of advocacy and lobbying behind the scenes on these issues. So then just quickly to think about what was achieved through this very specific time-bound campaign. Well, it didn't just stay in the UK, it went global thanks to our Renew Our World partners. So a number of partners around the world took the campaign up and did actions within their own countries on this. 50,000 campaign actions were taken by supporters in the UK. And we believe it led to change, this along with other initiatives, of course, but in the year that the campaign was launched, so towards the end of the year, Unilever committed to halve the amount of virgin plastic it uses and to cut total plastic use by a sixth. And they also said they would collect at least as much as plastic as they sell in each market by 2025. So some of our key asks they agreed to. Nestle, as well as another example, January 2020 committed to reduce its use of virgin plastics by 1/3. There are other examples I won't go into now because of time. But another thing to say in terms of success, it really did open the door to relationship conversations with these companies, and that media work at the beginning was very key in that, in opening the door for us to have conversations, to be able to influence and lobby and really, work with companies to make changes on this. So I will end there.
Thank you very much, Mary. It's a wonderful work that you're doing, and it's very much related also to what we are doing in Plastic Bank, and our hearts are for these campaigns, and we're looking forward for the next phase that you will be launching and how we can participate there. Now we end at the case studies. I really would like to thank all the presenters. I find it very impressive and mind-blowing how faith organizations and communities have brought together spirituality and action in a very astonishing and powerful way. So I'm really, really impressed by what I've just heard, and I hope so is the audience. I think we are a little bit over time. I'm not sure if I can still attend any questions, but I will also give back to Marina, and thank you very much again.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, all the speakers. As Mara has just launched a survey now, I hope everyone can see it popping on your screen. Can everybody see the survey? It asks, in case your organization is already conducting a project or initiative on pollution, what is the thematic area that you're focusing on? So we would like to hear from you, participants. What are your priorities? Okay, the survey will remain open. And I know we have passed a little bit the time, but I would still be happy to take some inputs from the audience. Anyone who has a project and experience, knowledge to share, in faith-based action against pollution, please use this opportunity now to present yourself. Looks like audience is a bit shy today. You can also post comments and questions in the chat box. Now, Ansmara, could you please launch the third and last survey for this session? So after all the presentations that you have seen here today, we would like to know if you're interested in joining each of these proposed super action groups, and if so, which one of them? So shortly, Esmera will share the result of this survey. Thank you. Great. Now we move on to the last item of the agenda, the concluding remarks. I will now invite Pinaki Dasgupta from Green Faith India. Pinaki likes to call himself a gig professional motivated to work on climate change and sustainability through innovative approaches and education. A research scholar from CRDT, IIT Delhi. He's currently exploring SDG 6, especially the nexus between the circular economy and wastewater through a life cycle approach. He loves food, culture, travel, and building communities. His interests are in engineering, science, creativity, economics, and social aspects of climate change. Pinaki has worked on several national projects related to alternative fuels, food, chemicals, industry, health, and agriculture sectors in his 2 decades of swimming with the government, corporates, and developmental organizations. He maneuvers his energy to work with diverse cultures, communities, and faith-based organizations on the principles of 5 Ps. Pinaki, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marina, and I'm so sorry about being a little lavish on my CV. You should cut down some sentences. And it's also the end of this wonderful session, and I'm at loss of words to conclude. So I have made a little presentation while everyone was kind of sharing, and it's just 2 or 3 slides because I have 5 minutes to conclude. That's very challenging when we are actually listening to people who have decades of experience. So if I am allowed to share the slide, and then I will try to see if things work out. Give me a moment, and please let me know if that is visible. And I'm sorry about the noise. Okay, is it visible? Yeah. Great, thank you so much. And this is what I could really gather from today's energetic sharing, and a lot of these I won't read all of them, but what I could gather from all of you is that faith is a very important communication tool for mobilizing people on climate action, and not only climate action, because we are talking about pollution here. That is what you all are already doing, and there is this whole kind of scientific studies and actions which have already been done or being done. They are a kind of a great connector with whatever we want to do for a better today and a better tomorrow. I'm not going to read this, but they are very, very powerful statements which have been brought out today. They are very kind of essential And this is what I thought I would share as a call of action. We have hope, love, trust, compassion, unity, integrity, and selfishness as values that guide us, every one of us, whether we are believer or non-believer. We have the resources, the will, the knowledge, the inspiration from faith and tradition to nurture and protect our earth. This is our only planet. We have to transform these into action through education, through research, through organizing, through advocacy, through collaboration, through partnership, and nature-based solutions. We have to step up in reaching out to everyone. Every stakeholder is important. Every action matters here. And of course, there is a need to have faith-based teachings and science-based outcomes working hand in hand together for engaging devotees, pilgrims, visitors, and policymakers. And we have heard that projects can work wonders through faith-based inspiration. We could use principles like SWOT and SMART for mobilizing and activating the power of faith-based communities. And through these, we could have a way and means to scale up, communicate, and disseminate environmental subjects in different engagements. So this is what I thought I'll share as call of action for today. And nevertheless, this could have not been done without kind of the assistance and the help, the support of a wonderful team which is behind this. So I place my gratitude, my deepest gratitude to the UNIP team, Marina, Azmera, Dr. Riyad. They're working 24 by 7 hours for the last few weeks. My team member, Shantanu, Reverend Rachel, Peter, who have been very kind in volunteering and being as a kind of coordinating and as moderators. And then I place my thank to speakers and presenters for kind of such a motivating and inspiring session, and for the partners for this session, Anglican Communication Environmental Network, Green Faith, and Global Youth for Environment, and last but not the least, the partners for Faith for Earth. So thank you so much, everyone, and prayers for everyone's safety, well-being, and happiness. And thank you so much.